Welcome to another Light Reading Telecom Innovator video. This is a sponsored video series where we're introducing you to some of the people and companies that are moving the global communications industry forward. My name is Phil Harvey. I'm an editor here at Light Reading, and I'm joined on the presentation today by Ana Redondo from Amdocs. Hi, Ana. How are you?
Hi, Phil. Very well. Thank you. And thank you very much for having me today.
It's great to talk to you, and thanks for making the time. We're going to be talking about 5G and some efforts that Amdocs is making to make 5G, I guess, more of a universal and profitable thing in the industry. So to start with, for those who aren't familiar with it, let's talk about the 5G Open Innovation Lab. What is the 5G Open Innovation Lab?
Sure. So, Phil, look, the 5G Open Innovation Lab is a lab that is focused on developing edge and 5G-based solutions to address the problems that enterprises are facing today in a number of industries. And to do that, the lab has brought together a number of technology partners that are co-developing and jointly developing these solutions. So we have two types of partners in the lab. We have, on the one hand, the corporate and funding partners. The first ones that joined the lab were Intel, T-Mobile, and NASA. And then there's been another number of technology leaders joining the lab, including Amdocs. And then we have the startups. We have at the moment in the lab around 60 startups. And there is a recruitment cycle of startups every 3 months when 15 to 20 new companies join the lab. And these are the companies that are bringing all of the cutting edge solutions like in around IoT, AR, VR, video analytics, you name it. So all in all, Phil, when you look at the 5G Open Innovation Lab, their vision is join together enterprises, wireless carriers, technology leaders, and startups, and together develop edge and 5G solutions that can address the problems certain enterprises are having today and monetize them. And that's the whole vision in a nutshell of the lab.
Yeah, so it does all come down to making to monetizing 5G for enterprises, and that's great because the timing couldn't be better. For those of us who are, we hear all those impressive names, and it sounds like there's a lot going on there. But what makes the 5G Open Innovation Lab different than other 5G labs? Because there are some others that have been announced.
You're right. There are many labs being launched at the moment in the market. Look, the 5G Open Innovation Lab is not a technology lab purely focused on develop abstract technology ideas or solutions that don't have a practical application inside. That's not the lab. Rather, we're working with real enterprises and we are listening to them, and they're telling us the problems that they have and the problems that need solutions. And that's what the focus of the lab is today, is really answering the question, what technology can do today for enterprises? And also one thing which is quite unique in this lab is many of the solutions that are being co-developed with some of these enterprises are actually being commercialized. And that has a tremendous benefit to all of the partners involved. I mean, the enterprises get solutions implemented with cutting-edge technology. For the startups, it allows them to not only develop their solutions, but get real deals and reference customers. And even for us, the technical leaders, it means we're working with other technical leaders in the industry, we're working with the startups, and we're learning a huge deal from each other and developing our solutions further. So all in all, I think it's quite different because it's quite focused on real implementations, real use cases, and in bringing tangible and measurable results. And that is quite different to other innovation labs, which are more focused on developing technology that might not be able to be used for another 5 or 10 years.
Yeah, that's a very important distinction because there are a lot of labs that I've heard about that are they're looking really far ahead, and they're trying out a lot of, they use the term experimental a lot. They're using really experimental technologies, and that makes sense for down the road. But yeah, like you say, enterprises need to monetize 5G very quickly. Um, so, because you've said that, let me put you on the spot. Can you tell us about a real world use case that you're working on, and how is Amdocs involved?
Yeah, sure. So the first test bed where we've been involved has been around agriculture. We're working with a farm in the US, and at the beginning, together with the farmer, we went through the problems the farmer had. And we identified three areas where we could implement solutions. And one is around the health of orchards, the other one is about the remote maintenance of equipment, and the third one is around security. So let me elaborate a little bit more on those. On the first one, we're using an artificial intelligence and machine learning application that is taking images from the orchard and the farm and is then compressing and stitching those images and processing the data so the farmer can get information from the orchard, such as soil humidity, densification of the orchards, and other type of parameters. And it's a real benefit for him to be able to do it far faster and more efficiently than he used to. So that's one of the solutions. The other one is using augmented reality and virtual reality to do the remote maintenance of the tractors because it costs them a lot of money to bring people on site.
Sure.
And it's also going to use it for the remote maintenance of IoT devices. And maybe even in the future, we're exploring the possibility to do remote inspections of the farm because it's a public farm open to the public. So they need to
Right.
have health and safety inspections. And the final use case, which is really interesting, and we're developing the three of them, is around video analytics and security. Again, because a farm open to the public, they needed video cameras that could trigger alarms when the public were going into areas where they're not supposed to. So
Hmm.
especially if you've got a lot of children with dangerous machinery, is really important. So all of these three use cases we are supporting with the CDRS private network, with on-prem edge capabilities, and we also have fixed wireless access to get into the public network and then into the public cloud. Because a lot of these solutions do a lot of the processing on site, but a lot of the processing as well on the cloud. So you need that private public communication combo. And
That's
and yeah,
pretty
in terms
interesting.
of where, yeah, yeah, really interesting. Yeah. In terms of what we were doing, which you were asking as well, what is it that you guys are doing? On the technology side, Amdocs is bringing a lot of their solutions in the networking area and the automation area to support these three use cases. So we bring in our CDRS SaaS solution for the onboarding of the CDRS devices. We're also bringing a solution we have for the live monitoring of the mobile run and core. And in the automation and orchestration side, what we bring in is the capabilities of taking all of these applications that need to be onboarding into the edge, doing the onboarding, the lifecycle management, and then doing the end-to-end stitching of the service because someone has to do that join from the drone to the private network, the edge, and the cloud, so everything speaks to each other. So
Right.
that's on the technology side. But then we also have a significant role around the business side of things in the lab. Because as a founding corporate partner, one of the things we do is a lot of technical leadership and thought leadership as to where we're going in the industry. And we're also very much involved in the scouting and the mentoring of a lot of the startups that join the lab. So that's the areas where we work in and we're involved in.
Wow, that's
Uh,
really pretty comprehensive. And
mhm.
in all of those cases and all of those specific use cases, they're highly distributed. They require high amounts of bandwidth
Mm,
and high amounts of processing, both on site and in the cloud. And I'm
mm,
glad you pointed all that out because kind of the execution and orchestration of all of that can be quite complex.
mhm.
What do you find has been the greatest challenge in developing a solution for these types of use cases?
Yeah, great, great question. And actually, you mentioned bandwidth. I think probably one of the biggest challenges we faced was in the processing of data. As I was saying, a lot of the processing is done on site, but also some of it is done on the public cloud. And for that, we need to go through the public network. As you know, public networks are optimized for the download, not the upload. So when you send in bursts of very big chunks of data in very short time, we did found problems to do with data being taken too long to get to the cloud. So there was a lot of optimization work that had to be done around that. That was a significant problem. And I would say the other biggest problem we had was around the number of partners. Look, to put these vertical solutions, it takes a lot of partners. And we have a fantastic group of partners we're working together, but I think it's often underestimated how much work it takes to get all of the activities and all of the solutions aligned. And I think it's once more brought to light how important it is when implementing these solutions to have a good system integrator joining everything together and coordinating all of the activities. So I'd say that's probably the main two challenges we've been facing.
Yeah, that's interesting. Well, I appreciate the information and the kind of the specificity of the use case, because this really is a real world issue,
Mm,
for agricultural or industrial farms, especially. And,
mm,
and it does sound like they can benefit greatly from having, 5G solutions at work in their
mm.
business. So, what's coming up next at the 5G Open Innovation Lab? Let's leave it on, with a thought toward looking forward for Amdocs.
Yeah. So for us, first of all, we're going to carry on in the agricultural test bed. We carry on developing the use cases, but there are another two initiatives that we are going to be getting involved with, which we're very excited about. One is around the development of Open Run. We've started discussion with some of the other technology leaders in the lab, and that's just kicking off at the moment. So it's completely very early days. And the other initiative is the next test bed, which is going to be for industrial transportation. We're going to be working with the Port of Tacoma, which is one of the main ports in the west coast of the US. And we've just started defining the solution and which use cases we're going to implement. And for that, we're actually working with the Port Authority, with a consultancy company that specializes in solutions for ports, and also with three of the companies that actually use the port today. So all three of them are keeping us well grounded into what real solutions we need to be looking at and making sure what we implement has real value. And it's really exciting because it's going to be addressing one of the problems which everybody knows we have these days worldwide around supply chain, and we're also going to be looking at the communication and security in the port. So really exciting opportunity.
Yeah,
So
and once
yeah,
again, another great example of where 5G can actually make a difference in terms of something that's highly mobile, highly distributed, but also
mm,
probably requires lots of bandwidth and lots of security as well.
yeah.
Well, congrats on that, or good luck on that challenge. And Ana Redondo from Amdocs, thanks so much for making the time for us today.
Thank you very much for having me, Phil. Thank you.